Hello, 240 Intermediate Graphic Design class, and welcome to the April 13th edition of Remote Instruction. I was very pleasantly happy with what I saw on the responses for the resume discussion. I thought it was an excellent way that you all dug in and kept the dialogue going, even though you can't see each other face to face. And speaking of face to face, we'll do our best here with another Zoom this afternoon at 5:30. Look in the post, because of the Zoom bombing and stuff. They say best practices now is not to put these posts inside of emails, or I'm sorry, not posts, but invites to the Zoom inside of emails. Better off to just put them inside of a post like on Canvas. So we'll look at the resume post discussions that you all had going, and open up some of the resumes and take a look at them and just keep the discussion going about what most people consider to be good graphic designer resumes, the ones that could go either way, and then the things definitely to avoid. We'll look at the next round of the AP Tech contest. Kind of a special note on that. I realized that just having you post, a flat image, a JPEG of your work, didn't really work for a lot of you. Like some of you were like, why are you being so stingy on the grades, Steve? And then you explained your concept in more detail to me, and I'm like, oh, that's really good. That's not how I interpreted it the first time around. So that's something that I'll have to work on, is finding better ways. And I kind of think that the Zoom approach like we're going to try tonight, where I bring it up and then you explain it, might be the best way to go. Okay, so there's not really much else new for today, and any questions or anything that comes up we can handle in the Zoom tonight. So let's talk about what is due for next week and try to hammer some of this information home about what it's going to take to get a winning entry for the AP Tech contest. Okay, so for a week from today, April 20th, we'll do a Zoom again at 5:30. And at that time, we will handle the process check of the resume. So the idea is to have one last chance, or one good chance, I should say. We haven't really done much with the resume, although we've been talking about it all semester long. But put something together. We will talk about it next week, and then it'll probably be due the week after, just so you have a good amount of time to work on it. Let's see. So it should be, your best chance at pretending it's due and turning it in, but you'll get feedback in one more week to make it better. So there should be no placeholder images, no placeholder text. And then for the AP Tech contest, just a couple important things I want to discuss as we go over what's due. And it's really just another comp. At this point, you can have a max of 2 comps that you're showing, which can either be 2 totally different directions, totally different concepts, and everything about it is different, and then we just have to narrow it down to 1, or it can be 2 variations of the same comp, or it can just be one good one that could get you 36 out of 40, or maybe more if it's really super solid, that the effort's there. But the best way to cinch a 40 out of 40 or a 39 out of 40 is to do 2 really good things. So some of the important advice I want to give you is, don't be afraid to start over if it really doesn't feel like it's getting anywhere. And that's the perfect thing to start bringing in another one. And you'll be able to tell the difference in my enthusiasm between one that's, okay, getting there, and one that's really good. Really think about getting conceptual. And we talked about that whole thing where you've got the verbal component, which is what, and let's just kind of use the example of a mailing piece, whether it's 3-dimensional or flat, but you have what it says, that's your verbal component, and then you have the visual component, and that is what we see. And if you can get it to the point where what we see and what it says is not the concept, neither one is the concept, but when you put the 2 of them together, it's like, bam, that's the concept. That's, you got us. That was really good. And then the other thing that we said, and this all goes now in addition to concept, right? You come up with your concept, the message that you're trying to get across. Now you have to think that the message that I'm trying to get across should not, for this contest, just be a plain verbal and a visual. It should most likely, like I'm at like 97.5% in my head, that it should employ a special technique. And when I showed you the winners last week, all of them had some kind of a special technique on it, whether it was a die cut, a spot varnish, some type of fold, an emboss or a deboss, spot coloring, including metallics, gold leaf, special paper, just something that makes it stand out from the crowd of mostly nice Epson paper done on a nice inkjet printer. I mean, that's what most four-year college students are producing, and that's basically who you're competing with. But we've proven in the past that we can certainly compete with and beat those students. So how do you do all this stuff? Well, we went into detail last week on the Zoom meeting, but if you missed it, start by going here on my WordPress site, look at those techniques, then look them up on Google, look up videos of how people are doing them on YouTube, because the big hurdle is the difference between the way these things would be done if you were making a commercial print run of, say, 10,000 copies. They would be done one way, but if you have your client coming in the afternoon to show where the work is at, or you're a student sending something into a design contest, in either one of those cases, you've got to find a way to get this done. And I'll just give you one example. Let's say you wanted an area of metallic ink. In the real world, the printer would buy a big drum of additional ink. It would cost you a lot more money to have it printed, but it would be something pretty darn interesting. And the way of getting something done for a design contest or for your client that's coming by this afternoon to look at the work, you might A, get a can of spray paint and make a stencil. You might B, get some fingernail polish and try out your steady hand at painting. Now, we're in the perfect semester for these things because you can just try them and try them and try them until you get good at them. And that's really what it takes, is a lot of patience and a lot of attempts. And then pretty soon you become the expert at one of these things. And people are looking at your work going like, wow, how did you comp that? Okay, so try something that's way out of your comfort zone. If you've never done an emboss before, give it a shot. What's the worst thing that could happen, right? You might discover that no matter what you do, you're not good at it. I highly doubt that. You get the right paper, the right little stylus tool, and you can probably do it with a bunch of attacks. But if you think, well, I don't know, I'm just not good at craft, have a backup plan, because you don't want to turn something in that's just nasty for grade purposes. But on the other hand, you're probably not going to win or have a shot at winning unless you try one of these things. Okay, so that is your two things that you will actually turn in for next week, is a good comp of the resume and a good comp or two for the AP Tech contest. And then WordPress, there's nothing actually due next week other than watching the third video in that series. And then just a couple things to keep in mind on the WordPress site is this is going to be your portfolio site, at least for this class. After this class, if you want to go on to something else, obviously you can. But for this class, everyone's going to put together a WordPress site. There will be a minimum amount of things that are due on it, which covers everything that we've done in this class. And then you can add additional things if you like. WordPress started out as a blog, and it's really, really good for blogging. We, in the end, won't have a blog on our site. We'll actually physically remove the link to the blog because it doesn't really make sense to have a blog on a portfolio site. But the only way I could imagine that that would make any sense at all is if you were so passionate about graphic design that you hosted a blog and wrote about graphic design every week and invited people to post stuff, and you had an incredibly good dialogue with the, a public, or, a sector of the public of graphic design going on that thing. Otherwise, get rid of the blog. Keep it super professional. Like, boom, this is me. This is my portfolio. Um, I'm telling you that because as you watch the videos, you'll hear me talk a lot about blogs, how to make a blog, how to respond to a blog. And it's great stuff that you should know, because you never know if you're going to get, let's say, a restaurant client once they open up again that says, hey, I need a site for my restaurant. I'd like to be able to have a dialogue going with the conversations. I'd like to be able to update the menu every 2 weeks. And not have to pay you every 2 weeks. Can you do that? Boom, here's your answer. Well, WordPress gets it done. So you get enough money up front for designing the site, for sitting down with them, teaching them how to use it, and then you're pretty much out of the picture. Maybe they always could need something else, or need it upgraded later on. So there you go. So basically for next week, just watch the third video, experiment with it, have fun with it, share it with family members for now, blog a little bit. You can easily get rid of that blog. The idea is that this will be the final thing that you accomplish in the class, which will be a project grade for getting it done. And then it will be your final exam, so to speak. Your final exam is actually a final presentation where you show us everything that you've done in class via your WordPress site. Okay, so I will see you at the Zoom, and look forward to any questions or dialogue that we come up with tonight.